On today's show, it's a game day preview. The Ottawa Senators in Carolina to take on the Hurricanes.
And the Ottawa Senators have 7 weeks where they have a back-to-back game. How should they tackle that with their goaltenders?
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today is Friday, December 13th, and Pilsy, all eyes across the National Hockey League will be in Carolina tonight. The only game on the schedule. The Senators and Hurricanes feel the excitement.
Oh, man. If it was any other opponent in any other barn, Ross, apart from maybe Vegas, that would be great for the Sens to have the spotlight, especially coming off a 5-1 victory. But not going to lie, I don't feel good about this one.
No. We're bringing positivity. We need to. It's a Friday, feeling good. Senators looking like they're figuring it out. Now, they have played maybe some weaker opponents. So what better time than a test against the Carolina Hurricanes, who they haven't beat earlier this season. They didn't beat last year and have just struggled in this building. They only have 2 wins since 2019 in this building. The last one came on December 2nd of 2021. And in that game, they got outshot 49-20, but somehow pulled out a 3-2 victory. You can actually go all the way back to 2015. They have 2 wins since 2015 in Carolina. So this is a house of horrors for sure for the Ottawa Senators. Maybe some, I don't want to say loser mentality, but you go into that building and think about this core. Every time they step foot in that building, they come out with no points. So it's probably pretty disheartening going back. Drake Batherson after the Anaheim game mentioning they know this is one of the toughest barns to play in the National Hockey League. But the way this team's clicking right now, they have to have at least some confidence going in there that they can play.
Yeah, Ross, I know I'm touted as positive Pilsy, but you're not going to get me on this one. I know it's Friday. I know we're going into the weekend. We're coming off a big win, but I have no confidence that the Ottawa Senators can get a win. For me, it's to roll through the scheduled loss, hope no one gets injured, and move on to Pittsburgh. Look, I wish it wasn't that way, Ross, and I don't do this very often. You know that. I always find spin zones. I always find ways that I can be like, look, the Sens have an advantage here, or they're going to get some sort of positivity. I did my digging through the stats, and I don't see it, Ross. And I feel bad coming on here saying that, but I can't even spin the positivity on this one. It's too difficult.
Sens HQ says he doesn't want to hear any scheduled loss talk from the Sens Central boys. He says, we got this. Come on, Bills.
Hey, well, you can wash your hands clean of it. That's fine. We could be on 2 different sides of the fence here, but I'm trying to be a realist here. Usually I'm forever the optimist, but on this one, I'm going to be a realist.
You're getting caught up in a hurricane. I'm looking at this game saying just go out and play the way they did against Carolina, push the pace early, get them on their heels. They play the man-to-man coverage just like Anaheim does. The only difference is they've got better dogs to be able to stay one-on-one and keep things rolling. So we'll see how the Ottawa Senators can do. The Senators not having an official practice yesterday. However, they did have the Melnick annual, 19th annual Skate with the Kids. Some great photos on the Ottawa Senators social media page. You can go check that out. I left the lines the same as Anaheim. This is a 7 a.m. recording for the boys. Pilsy's about to head over to Alberta, BC. He'll be boots on the ground for the Sens and Flames next Thursday. So we're assuming and knocking on wood that Zach Ostapchuk is all right. He was on the ice for the Melnick Skate for the Kids, although I don't think that's an indication that he's ready to play a National Hockey League game.
It's not a heavy skate.
However, we're expecting the top line to stay together. Josh Norris with Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson. That leaves Tim Stützle centering Claude Giroux and Adam Gaudette. Shane Pinto between Nick Cousins and Michael Amadio. And then, as I mentioned, we hope and think that Zach Ostapchuk will center the Alberta Beef line with Noah Gregor and Ridley Gregg. The back end, no changes. Jake Sanderson with Travis Hamonic, Thomas Chabot with Nick Jensen, Tyler Clevin with Jacob Bernard Docker, Linus Ullmark and Anton Forsberg, your two goalies. And in the next segment, we'll discuss how the goaltending should be split up, not only on this back-to-back, but going forward. Pilsy mentioned it, at least one back-to-back every week for the next 7 weeks. Pilsy, who's your locked-on player to watch for the Ottawa Senators?
Well, Ross, if this team's going to have a chance against the Carolina Hurricanes, their number one defenseman, or someone who used to be their number one defenseman, needs to step up and play an amazing game. My locked-on player is going to be number 85, Jake Sanderson. He's still not where he needs to be yet. I would say he's not even really close to where he needs to be yet. Like, Ross, think about it. When's the last time we talked about Jake Sanderson as a Sens Central standout presented by the Glebe Central Pub in the postcast? Maybe that Calgary game weeks ago? Like,
too long.
It felt like last year he was just kind of like
every night.
Like we had the rule, like, okay, like Jake Sanderson, Sens Central standout, move on. Like we can't just say him every night. Yeah, exactly. Like that's a given. That's fine. Move on. But he just hasn't been there. You don't see those plays. I can't remember the last time I was watching a Sens game and thinking to myself, Sanderson is so good. It was every night last season. And he's not only been not good, he's kind of been a little bit bad, honestly, not going to lie. And I don't want to be too hard on Sanderson, but I had to have accountability with Ullmark. I took down his jersey, put it back up. He's been better since. So I'm gonna put a little pressure on Jake Sanderson to turn things around here, because if you're gonna beat elite teams, especially elite teams with depth and structure like the Hurricanes, you need your top defenseman to be a big part of that. So I want to see a big game here from Jake Sanderson.
Yeah, that would be huge. And we know that Jake Sanderson's kind of prototype. We hope there's more offense, but he's standing top lefty on the other side, and that is Jacob Slavin, who's just an absolute stud of a defensive defenseman. Jake Sanderson, 0 points in 7 career games against Carolina, a -5. So it'd be nice to get his first career point against the Carolina Hurricanes. Only other teams that he's never recorded a point against, the Boston Bruins, funny enough, in 7 games. Also, the New York Rangers in 7 games, and the Utah Hockey Club with just 1 game against them, and Minnesota, no points in 4 games. Everybody else, he's got at least a point against. Okay, good call there. Be great to see a nice performance from Jake Sanderson. I'm going to the other side of the spectrum. You got a guy who's been ice cold. I'm going to go with the hottest Ottawa Senator, Drake Batherson, for me. This is a revenge game of sorts for Drake Batherson. If I'm him, I'm looking at Seth Jarvis saying, how'd this guy make Team Canada over me? Drake Batherson's season has been incredible. And over the last 16 games, he has had a point or more in 14 of them. He has 20 points over his last 16 games, but only 2 of them did he not record a single point. This guy is an absolute stallion this year. The creativity you saw in the saucer pass against the Ducks, you saw the goals scoring off of his opponents, and that's why I'm even more confident in this. It's not like he was ripping them in. Sometimes you just want a couple bounces. He got the bounces last game. Yeah. Confidence has to be sky high. I'm hoping for a big night from Drake Batherson and that whole line, because Josh Norris, he scored a few big goals. You think of the Detroit game in particular. He won them that game.
2 of them.
But he's been pretty quiet overall within the game. So I'd like his invisibility cloak to come off and have that line set the tone for the Ottawa Senators. So I'll be locked on to Drake Batherson.
Yep, I like that. Ride the hot hand. Coming off a 4-point game. Hopefully he can keep things going up against Carolina, because they need all the help they can get.
They certainly do. Let's look at the Carolina Hurricanes, their projected lineup. They are coming off a win as well. They are lining up with a team that doesn't really scare me that much. But then you look at it a little deeper, and you're like, holy moly, their third and fourth line's pretty good. So this is a team with maybe not the top-end talent, and maybe some would argue that with Marty Necas really stepping up, but they don't have that, let's call it easy-to-call-out superstar that some other teams have. in the National Hockey League, but lots of really good players like Sebastian Aho, who centers their top line with Andrei Svechnikov and Jack Roslovic. They've got Jesperi Kotkaniemi with Eric Robinson and Marty Necas. Then the third line is Jordan Stahl with Jordan Martinuk and Seth Jarvis. And then Tyson Yost is with William Carrier and Jackson Blake. On defense, it's Jacob Slavin with Brent Burns, Dmitry Orlov with Jalen Chatfield, Shane Gostisbehere with Sean Walker, and in goal, either Pyotr Kochetkov or Senators invite to camp has signed a contract here. That is Dustin Tokarski. Oh my God, Tokarski! Little throwback the last time the World Juniors were in Ottawa. He was the attendee there. World Juniors coming back to Ottawa. That's why the Senators are playing 10 of their next 11 games on the road. Pillsy, your lookout player to watch.
Well, Ross, Tokarski very well could start because the Hurricanes, the last goalie to win for them was Spencer Martin with a shutout when they played Ottawa last. So it doesn't really matter who's in net for them. So maybe they'll just toss Tokarski out there. But my lookout player is going to be number 4, Shane Gostisbehere. I mean, it's not very often, Ross, that a third pair defenseman is someone that I'm eyeing on this team. But Shane Gostisbehere is having one heck of a season. The career path for him should be studied, Ross. Because remember, the Philadelphia Flyers couldn't give him away. I'm pretty sure they traded him to the Arizona Coyotes attached with a pick for future considerations just to dump him. And then that year, when he goes to Arizona, he has 51 points. Like, it's nuts. He had 56 points with the Red Wings last year. I'm surprised they didn't hold on to him, especially it's not like his new contract with the Carolina Hurricanes exactly breaks the bank. He's only making 3.2 for 3 years. And right now, he's projected to get 74 points. In 28 games, he has 6 goals, 19 assists for 25 points. And the Carolina Hurricanes game preview had a lot of good stats on him. He's on a 4-game point streak with 6 points in that. He leads the league in blue liners. That's a weird way to say that. In defensemen, in power play points with 17 power play points. Ross, he has 4 power play goals. Do you know how many power play goals the Ottawa Senators defensemen have as an entire unit?
1.
Jake Sanderson.
Yeah.
So, like,
against Tampa, that was in like mid-October.
Yeah, you can see the depth that this team has when their third pair defenseman is lighting it up like this and is having that much success on the power play. So it's incredible what he's been able to do. A great contract by the Carolina Hurricanes. Pretty much every single player on their decor has a really nice, at least team-friendly deal. So that's where the Hurricanes get you, Ross. They don't have that superstar elite talent, but all throughout the lineup they have good contracts, good depth, and then when you have a coach like Rod Brindamore, you're going to play a structured game. So this team's tough to beat.
What the hell was Detroit thinking about letting Shane Gostisbehere go and then giving up a 2nd-round pick with Jake Wallman to San Jose? Like,
it's insane.
They just put Anvil in their decor for absolutely no reason, and they traded an asset to do it as well. I'll give you my lookout player on the other side of the break. We'll also get to the goaltending conversation, and I'll look at the out-of-town scoreboard from last night and which team am I eyeing for the Ottawa Senators to catch if they're going to make playoffs. Those conversations still to come. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for your shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You guys heard me right. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Best part is, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn those sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. Prize Picks, run your game.
Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our friends over at FanDuel are making it easy to get in on the action. If you're a new customer on FanDuel, you place a $5 bet, and if you win, you will get started with $150 in bonus bets. Boom, just like that. Looking at the action, I mentioned Ottawa, Carolina, the only show in town in the National Hockey League tonight. Senators are plus 168 on the money line. Anytime goal scorers where I'm going to go here, and I'm looking at Adam Gaudette. Yes, I am, because this guy didn't score last game, but we know just how often he's finding twine this year. Plus 500 for an Adam Gaudette goal. If you like Pillsy's locked on player, Jake Sanderson, plus 950 for a Jake Sanderson anytime goal. And Pillsy, are we still riding $12 on Shane Pinto tonight?
Let it ride.
Plus 430 anytime goal scorer Shane Pinto tonight. New customers at FanDuel get a $5 bet for your first bet, and if you win, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Pillsy. Sens game day, 7 o'clock puck drop. We will have the postcast for you after tonight's game. Should mention it will be a little smidge later. We're looking at about a 10:40 to 10:50 p.m. start time for the postcast. Jack and I will have you covered tonight and tomorrow here on Locked On Senators. So we've got the Carolina Hurricanes up. Pillsy's going with Shane Gostisbehere as his lookout player. We can't do this preview without talking about Marty Necas. I mean, the story in the National Hockey League of a guy who has exceeded expectations. This guy was in trade rumors all summer. He ends up staying in Carolina, and going into tonight's game, he is tied for third in the National Hockey League in points. Who's he tied with? Glad you asked. Kirill Kaprizov and Mikko Rantanen. Pretty decent names there. He also just simply doesn't take penalties. Only 3 minor penalties for Marty Necas this year. He's doing it at even strength, 24 points there. He's doing it on the power play, 19 points there. He's got 70 shots on goal. The only thing you can poke in his game is he sucks in the faceoff dot down at 43.8%. Got him. Yeah, easy pickings. But just like Ottawa does with Tim Stützle, they're putting him on the quote-unquote second line so that he can open up matchups-wise, playing with Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Eric Robinson. So interesting to note that. Final note on tonight's game for me, this game is 2 of the most efficient scorers in the National Hockey League, Pillsy. We know that the Ottawa Senators goals per 60 minutes stud Adam Gaudette is right in the mix there. He sits second in goals per 60 minutes behind only Alexander Ovechkin. But there's a guy in Carolina who's pretty good himself. Jack Roslovic is 10th in the National Hockey League in goals per 60 minutes. Roslovic having a real nice start to his season with Carolina. Roslovic has 13 goals in 28 games, 4 assists as well. So he's on that top line where Seth Jarvis used to be. Jarvis got hurt, and now since he came back, they're like, okay, well, we don't want to break up that Roslovic trio with Aho and Svechnikov. So Jarvis finds himself on the third line for now with Jordan Stahl, Martin Nook as well. That to me is the line to watch tonight as one where if you're Ottawa, you got to be aware when that line's out there because defensively responsible, but now that they've added Jarvis there, you got a pop of offense too. You got to be careful when they're on the ice. All right, Pillsy, the goaltending question for the Ottawa Senators. Who starts tonight, Linus Ullmark or Anton Forsberg?
I feel like I got to duck tomatoes and throwing fruit from the crowd, Ross, because I don't think people are going to like the answer I give, but I'm starting Anton Forsberg tonight for multiple reasons. First, Ross, when was the last time the Ottawa Senators beat the Carolina Hurricanes in Carolina?
2021.
Who was the goalie for that game?
Anton Forsberg and both of his knees.
How many saves did he have?
47.
Okay. Look, I've already gone through this. I don't think this team's going to beat the Carolina Hurricanes, Ross. If we were to do a keys to victory, I don't have any. The Carolina Hurricanes are third in penalty kill percentage at 84%. Oh, let's see how their power play is doing. Oh, third in the league in power play percentage at 28.3. I don't know how you're going to beat this team. So for me, here's the play. Put Forsberg in. If he loses, well, you thought you were going to lose that game anyways, and Carolina's way ahead of you in the standings, so it doesn't affect your standings too much. But if he wins, man, what a confidence boost for Anton Forsberg, your backup. And I know lots of people were getting on me about my take about Forsberg the other night, being like, we don't care about Forsberg's feelings and his confidence. He just has to win. He's a professional athlete making millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. Exactly. I get that. But you know who might care about Anton Forsberg's confidence? Anton Forsberg and the coaching staff of the Ottawa Senators. Like, for that, I know fans don't care because they're like, he has all this money, he should just be good. Fair. But he's a person and he's trying to do good at his job and he's been bad at his job. If you give him the opportunity, say, hey, we're putting you up against this really good team. Let's see what you got. If he can get you the win, that's a massive, massive confidence boost. And for me, you want to win that game Saturday up against the Pittsburgh Penguins so much more than you want to win this game. And it's a much more winnable game up against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Don't have the opportunity to shake Linus Ullmark's confidence. Like, if Ullmark goes against Carolina and gets shelled, then you're just wiping all that confidence that he's earned on the last couple of games where he's been absolutely amazing, Vezina caliber. So for me, that's the way to go. And I'm not even entertaining, Ross, the idea of starting Ullmark in both games. Don't give me that.
I'm giving you that. I'm giving you that. And here's my reasoning.
Come on.
Look, 7 back-to-backs coming up in the next 7 weeks. We'll have plenty of time to split the goaltending. So I think it's as much, not a punishment, but you cannot rely on Anton Forsberg right now. Last Sunday, he lost them that game against the New York Islanders. To me,
Can't believe we're doing this.
We're doing it. Ilya Sorokin has played every game since that back-to-back as well.
How young is Sorokin?
He's not that young. He's probably 2 years younger than Linus Ullmark. If Linus Ullmark can't play 2 games in a row, we got bigger problems. They're off for 2 days after that. They travel out to Utah. You can have a maintenance day when he's there if they want. He needs to play both these games. This is the time in the standings. We're going to get to the standings in the third segment. The Ottawa Senators win these 2 games here. You are all of a sudden right in the mix. These 2 games coming up. Pittsburgh is very important tomorrow. But why not this one? Carolina's got 4 wins in their last 10 games. They're not exactly at the top of their game right now. This is an opportunity to get 4 points in 24 hours, and I need Linus Ullmark in goal for both of those games. You'll have time. Pilsy, next weekend, Canucks and Oilers. Weekend after that, Jets and Wild. The week after that, Stars and Blues. The weekend after that, the Penguins and Stars. The weekend after that, the Bruins and the Devils. The weekend after that, the Maple Leafs and the Utah Hockey Club. We got back-to-backs. Linus Ullmark can start one of both of them. One of them. Both games, Linus Ullmark, give them to me in goal. I know you don't like that, but let us know in the comments. Who starts in goal? Do you go Pilsy's way? I like your thought process, though. If Forsberg were somehow to win this game, it gives him confidence, but I'm going with my best goalie taking on one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. On the other side, I'll look to that game against Pittsburgh and what they did last night to the Montreal Canadiens. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, actually the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show, you're going to get yourselves a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Senators podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. You can find them right in the heart of the Glebe at GLEBE Central Pub. It's going to be a great spot during the World Juniors. We know that the one pool is playing at TD Place Arena. Well, if you're heading to any of those games, make sure to stop by the GCP where the vibes are free and you can get great food, awesome drinks, and a family atmosphere. And it's such a great spot. Love the darts board, love the big TVs all over the place. And I love that every time I go in there, it just feels like you're among friends. You're among Sens fans. And they've also got the Sens Shuttle, which is just the best way to get to and from the CTC. They've got the bus coming up for the game tomorrow against the Pittsburgh Penguins. My mom and dad will be on that bus. They're heading to that game. And then the Team Canada bus, we're going to call it, for the rest of the month, $20 round trip. You can go for any Team Canada game at the World Juniors, including New Year's Eve, Canada, USA. I mean, that's one you want to leave the keys at home for. Let Sue do all the driving to and from the CTC, and you will have the vibes are free because of the GCP. On game days for the Ottawa Senators, 10% off at the GCP. So head there and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. We love our friends at the GLEBE Central Pub. Support us by supporting them over at 779 Bank Street. All right, Pillsy. So we've got one tonight, 7 o'clock, Sens and Hurricanes. We'll see in the postcast after that, but it is the first of back-to-back games. Senators taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins tomorrow at home. Hope it's a great crowd so that the team can go away on that road trip. Bon voyage. Let's get 2 points there as well. What are your expectations with a Penguins team coming to town after a 9-2 win over Montreal?
Well, it's going to be interesting, Ross. Just quick note, though, I did check the stats. You were right. Linus Ullmark only 2 years older than Sorokin, so that part of my take, I'll climb back on that part. Not a big age difference there, so my bad. But yeah, up against the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's going to be interesting to see here because after a 9-2 win against the Habs, they're going to be confident as hell. Like, that's a pretty big beatdown, and they don't have a game in between. So we'll see how that momentum shifts from being able to beat a bottom feeder like the Montreal Canadiens that sizably. How will they fare up against the Ottawa Senators? We'll find out.
Yeah, we will. And I always mention to people, like, go see when the Penguins are in town because Sidney Crosby's not going to play forever. And the guy's still on top of his game. 2 assists last game. And I think that if you're a hockey fan in Ottawa, you got to be heading to this game, taking the GCP shuttle and watching Sid the Kid hopefully come out with maybe a point of his own, but no points for the team, as this one's going to be huge for Ottawa. And we don't have to get in the goaltending conversation, but that's obviously going to be a huge factor, not only for Ottawa, but for Pittsburgh, because their goaltenders have had a very tough time so far this season. Tristan Jarry in particular has just been, I'll say downright dreadful, as he's got an .884 save percentage on the season. Nedeljkovic, their other goalie, an .882. So that's got to be the worst team save percentage in the league, no?
Yeah, it's definitely very bad, looking similar to the Ottawa Senators goaltending numbers last year. But Ross, Tristan Jarry has a 6-4-1 record. So despite having a 3.65 and an 8.84, he's got a winning record. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they do. They did get that 4-game win streak propelled them up the standings, which we should take a look at right now, with Ottawa being the only wild card team in the Eastern Conference playing today. Only one of 2 teams, of course, Carolina being the other. We don't care about the top 3 in the Metropolitan, where Carolina will spend the entirety of this season. But look at the teams right ahead of Ottawa: Pittsburgh and the New York Islanders. 2 points for Pittsburgh, 3 points for the Islanders, even though Ottawa still has an extra win than the Islanders. My grievance there will continue throughout the season. However, 3 games in hand, Pilsy. That's what I'm saying. These 2 games are huge. And I know you're still going to have an extra game in hand with Pittsburgh playing Ottawa tomorrow night. The Islanders playing back-to-back games against the Chicago Blackhawks. They got a win 5-4 last night over them. They're playing them again in the second half of home and home tomorrow. So, like, this is an opportunity game. I know I said it for Wednesday. It was. But look at the far right column of this. All of the top 6 teams in the wild card are coming off at least 1 win, and Philly's got 2 in a row. So you have to keep pace with these other teams that keep winning.
And Ross, stick on that right side column. The biggest streak is the Flyers with the 2-game win streak. Like, even like 1 game, 1 win, 1 win,
Everybody.
1 win, 1 overtime loss, 1 loss, 1 loss, 1 loss. Like, teams are not going on stretches or having big downfalls in this, at least, particular spot in the schedule. Like, everybody's neck and neck, winning a game here, losing a game here. The points are very, very close when it comes to this wild card race. So that game up against the Pittsburgh Penguins it's a big one.
Well, why not just go steal 2 points tonight in Carolina, and then let's have that be our first 3-game win streak of the season. Like, come on. Why not? Why not us? Why not now?
Because the Carolina Hurricanes are the owners of the Ottawa Senators recently. That's why, Ross. But hey, you know what? I would love to be wrong. So people want to be like, Pillsy's attitude, terrible. Don't want to hear about scheduled loss, blah, blah. If the Sens win, throw all the rotten fruit at me and boo at me. That's fine. I will happily accept that, because if the Ottawa Senators can beat the Hurricanes and then go on to beat the Penguins, they're in a great spot.
Final thoughts on today's show, Pillsy. I will remind everyone, not only tonight, but tomorrow, of course, we'll have the postcast for you. We are your team every day here on LOSP. Do you have any final thoughts? I can shepherd one over to you if you'd like.
Well, usually my final thoughts, I take a peek at what the Belleville Senators are up to, Ross, and they've got back-to-back games up against the Rochester Americans tonight and on Saturday. These are big games for them, and both of them are at the CAA Arena. And Ross, it looks like both of us are on the same thought train here. I'll let you take it away with why one of these games are going to be special. They're only doing it for one of the games, right?
It's going to be on Saturday, a tribute to the Belleville Bulls. These jerseys will be auctioned off after the game, with proceeds supporting the Belleville Minor Hockey Association. These jerseys, they're black with a little yellow trim, yellow numbers, little red in there with the Belleville Bull. Like, these are classy jerseys. The Belleville Sens posting them out. And for Malcolm Subban, very cool, as he wore those jerseys in the Ontario Hockey League, but they're also celebrating the 1999 Belleville Bulls. It's the 25th anniversary since their OHL championship. But these jerseys are sharp, and I think they're going to look awesome on the ice. So at FanDuel, we're hammering Belleville on Saturday wearing these.
And they have to start Malcolm Subban for that game, right?
Have to. And especially it's back-to-back, so you just start Levy on Friday.
Yeah, like you wouldn't start a goalie both games back-to-back. Like, that would just be nuts.
No. When you need to win, you do that. When you're 17-4-4, 12-4-4 rather, like Belleville, and have won 5 in a row, yeah, you definitely don't do it in that circumstance.
When you're 5th in the division and you're trying to get to 4th.
9th in the league. Games in hand.
Oh boy. That's Ross. I feel like most of the time we see eye to eye on things. There's a few things where we differ, but the whole starting goalies back to back, that's probably our biggest divide. Like, there is, like, look, if you're watching on YouTube, the red line that divides Ross and I's screen here, that is usually razor thin, but it is a full wall when it comes to the opinion of starting a goalie in back-to-back games here.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, I put my Linus in the sand, and I'm not budging that Ullmark needs to play both games. He needs, and we know that Travis Green's favorite goalies are the ones that stop the puck. Well, one of his goalies can stop the puck right now, and the other one can't. So I think it's a pretty easy decision.
Yeah, hey, you won't see me trying to say that Anton Forsberg is the better goalie or is the goalie that's going to get them to win. I'm not saying that. Ross, I respect Linus Ullmark so much that I don't want him to risk being injured, where you're just like, this guy, just get him out there, just roll him out until he falls apart.
No, I just want him to play 2 games in a row on back-to-back nights. People are probably so sick of us going back and forth on this because nobody is budging. I just want to hear other people's opinions on it because I know yours and I know mine. I also know that we've created a bit of a storm here on social media, a hurricane, if you will. We'll see if any of these few Hurricanes fans on there with like 10, 15 chirps a day at me, they're ruthless online. So I just said it's outrageous that Team Canada took Seth Jarvis over Drake Batherson. Outrageous. Drake Batherson's a hell of a player and deserves a little more respect when it comes to the international stage. All right, if you're going to the game in Carolina, shoot us a note. Love to get another boots on the ground report. Had Cheryl last time. Hopefully a more uplifting BOTG report after tonight's game. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.